Друзья, всем привет! В этом выпуске мы поговорим с баскетбольным агентом игроков НБА. Я думаю, что многим из вас будет интересно, как европейские баскетболисты попадают в Национальную баскетбольную ассоциацию. Кто стоит за игроками, чтобы они были замечены клубами НБА. И пообщаемся в этом выпуске мы с Майком Лелчитским. Это спортивный агент, который представляет таких игроков НБА, как Лаури Маркканен, Святослава Михайлюк, Алексея Лень, около 30% женской НБА, а также ряд игроков из лиги НФЛ, лиги по американскому футболу. И мы спросим Майка, как стать агентом игроков НБА, как такие игроки, как Маркканен, Лень и Михайлюк, оказались в Национальной баскетбольной ассоциации, и где лучше развиваться молодому баскетболисту, у себя на родине или уезжать в Америку.
We got bounce like this. Legs it up for Alex Len. Passes to Alex Len. He drains it from the corner. Away. And then back to Markkanen. Oh! He didn't come for the massage.
I'm glad that we are having the time today with you to have this interview, to learn more about you and your agency, because I think this is very interesting case, at least for Russian-speaking basketball players and people who work in basketball, that person who is, as I understood, Russian native, works in America works with NBA as an agent, and I want to know more the story of your agency, because as I read from your website, your agency was started by your dad, and you started to work with female basketball players, and now you work with NBA players, NFL players. You have very interesting and promising players like Markkanen, Mihайлюк, Lень. So tell us a bit more about the story of your agency, how you started and how you got to the point of where you are in the moment.
So we have a very unique, I think, story. Very proud of it. I was born in St. Petersburg, Leningrad then, and my father was a basketball coach with Spartak, and my mother worked for Inturist in the Hermitage Museum. Mm-hmm. By just good fortune connections, we were able to immigrate to the United States. My mother was offered a job at the University of South Carolina, and it had nothing to do with basketball. But my family moved here. First, my mother, then my brother, older brother, and then my father and I. I was 6 years old at that point, and so we moved to South Carolina. My dad was a basketball coach, and he knew not much English, didn't speak a word, and further didn't have work authorization, so he was for a few years volunteering as a coach, doing camps, learning the language, trying to get on his feet here in the new country.
And what years were this? It's like 90s?
This was I believe my mother moved in '89, and we moved in 1990. And right in an interesting time, and my family, started out that way. But yeah, my dad was a coach. Eventually, he got work permission in the United States and started to coach high school basketball here. Girls, boys, everything, and he was a very talented coach, and he had a lot of success, and he brought kind of a new European flavor to the South Carolina basketball scene. Won a few championships, started his own AAU program, and really started to think outside the box, and use his connections in Europe and Russia specifically to help players come over to the United States and sometimes play for him, sometimes play for other schools, colleges, and a lot of them were very, very talented. Got a lot of notoriety, came and it got big recruiting efforts from the best programs in the country, and went off to the best schools. A lot of the ladies played top programs, University of Georgia, University of Connecticut, a lot of these best programs, my dad kind of grew. At the same time, he started a company to help American coaches go to Europe and recruit. And there wasn't a lot of that going on in the 90s. So he would take a group of college coaches and they would go to, European championships, youth championships, and, go as a group, not individually like they do now, but it would be like a tour. And his company was, arranging all those things and arranging meetings with the players and coaches, different people in Europe, and, helped a lot of the major college coaches across the United States start recruiting European players, mostly women. And, the company evolved. Eventually, some of those players graduated college, and it was time for them to go pro. And he had a choice to make whether to stay in coaching or turn to the management side, and that's when he made that decision. And our company was founded in 1996. So, yeah, that's kind of long-winded story. I grew up in that company. I was like the original intern, and it was a lot of fun to see it grow. I have a sense of pride in our company because it's kind of the story of my family here in the United States, and I was able to grow from the closet to our home to where we are now, which we're very proud of.
Mike, and most players that represented by your agency that play in NBA, Markkanenen, Mihайлюк, Lень, they are Europeans. Why is that so? Is it too competitive to sign European players, or just explain this thing?
Well, that's just how it is right now. We have plenty of American players. We signed this year. We started the season with 5 NBA players, and 2 of them were American guys. So, but when I started, I grew up in this business. I was involved with a lot of it as it grew. Went off to college myself, got to play college football. When I came back, I knew I wanted to be involved, but I wanted something different. Be involved with kind of my own part of SIG, and that's when we launched the NBA side. By that time, the company had grown tremendously. My dad is one of the largest agents in the world in women's basketball. I believe they represent about 30% of the WNBA, which is quite a lot. And what he told me at the time was that when we start the men's basketball side, we want to focus on a smaller group of players and perform more of a boutique service. And to answer your question more directly, in the NBA environment, it's a very, very competitive business, and we, I try to establish myself in a niche, something that's different from the rest of the agents here. That's something that could make me stand out. For me, obviously, Russian-born, Russian-speaking, European cultural background, that's something that I saw that, hey, there's not really that many people here in the States who have this type of background. And so for me, I focused on, developing that niche, and that was the European, especially Russian-speaking part of the world.
Mm-hmm. And how you are being in the States able to recruit those players? How they get to you? Like how you got Markkanen or I don't know, Lень? How it happened?
I've seen those guys since they were youth, playing in the youth championships. Markkanen, Lauri, I saw. I think he was 16 or 17 years old. Leń, the same thing. I think I saw him in Lithuania. He was U18, but he was younger than everybody else. Mihайлюk, I saw him first time. He was, I think, 14 years old, and in a tournament in Turkey, maybe 10 people in the gym, and that's when you start to see the players that have major upside, major talent, and you build relationships with their families, so that once they get here 5-6 years later, they're done with college, there's already a comfort level and the relationship, and it gives you a better chance to work with them.
Mm-hmm. And also, you, I think, already partly answered this question, but still, why do you think the players work with your agency? Because there are like big powerhouse agencies like, I don't know, for example, Wasserman or BDA, which represents like most of NBA players. And why those guys, after they finish college, won't go to them and they stay with you? What do you think you offer that makes you different?
Yeah, I think every player is different and their needs are different. And, normally when a player, let's say a player in college in the States, is choosing an agent, a lot of times they get bombarded with dozens and dozens of agencies that offer their services. And I would say the majority of the time you can kind of break those down into two separate types of agencies. One that is some of the bigger firms, like you mentioned, that have a proven track record and obviously have a lot of players, and they can do a very good job for you. But I think sometimes a player and a family may think, okay, where do I fall on the totem pole of their client list? Because it's, at the end of the day, it's impossible to do a great job for 50 players. It's just, your attention naturally goes to, that order, for whoever that order is in the company. And then on the other side, you have more smaller boutique agencies that promise you all of their time and attention, and in my opinion, that's the way agent business is supposed to work. When a player has direct access to his agent at all times and can get stuff done. But maybe some of the families think, they don't have the track record, or they have, how many players have they had, in the NBA and in the NBA draft. So ideally, we would like to be right in the middle there, where we are small enough that, we can focus and give a lot of time and energy to the players, to all of the players that we represent. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we're not asking anybody to take a leap of faith for us. We have good results. We've had several players in the lottery, in the NBA draft, and first-round picks, second-round picks, undrafted guys that made the NBA. So there's a track record of success, and at the end of the day, I think the biggest selling point is when they talk to our clients and families, and they share their experience. Mm-hmm. So some players may not need that. Some players may need, they feel more comfortable with a bigger company, and they don't need their agent to be around all the time, or, spend a lot of time individually with them. Not everybody needs that, so that they may not be for us. Mm-hmm. But I think the players that choose us, that's something that they really focus on, and they want that attention, and that's what they get.
Mm-hmm. Mike, and today there are a lot of players from Eastern Europe and overall Russian-speaking countries come to the States, to high schools, universities. Also, your clients, which are like European NBA players, went to the States to play college. Do you think America is the best place in the world to develop your basketball skills and become a professional player? Or if you are talented, you can become basically NBA or EuroLeague player from wherever you are?
Yeah, I think definitely if you're talented enough, you can get to the NBA. There's many ways to get there. I have a bias towards this system because, I got to live it. I got to play college sports. I grew up in this environment. I also know, especially with a lot of youth programs in Europe, the kind of how the system works, and I feel like a lot of times it's there's just more opportunity to showcase yourself on a grander stage, mm-hmm. and develop. And so I'm biased. I believe in this system. I think that development here, they do a really good job. Not everywhere. I mean, there's no perfect place. Here, if you're going to college, you have to go to school. You have to devote a lot of your energy and time towards that. Some people don't, they don't want to focus on those things, and you have to here. You can't just not go to school. Mm-hmm. But as far as facilities, coaches, attention, especially in top programs, attention to the players, access, a lot of times in Europe, it's unthinkable that, a player may want to 10 p.m. at night, they want to go to the gym and get shots up. I think a lot of places in Europe, that's just you can't do that.
Anywhere, I think.
Yeah. So here it's, I think that's one of the first things that players don't realize when they come and they say, what do you mean I can go to the gym at 12 o'clock at night, 1 in the morning? Yeah, you have a key, you have a thing, go, turn on lights, get the ball and go. And so for all those reasons, I just think that my personal opinion is that the development system is, it works well here. And then obviously you are on the radar a little bit more. If you're trying to get to the NBA, you have scouts at every practice or these major colleges, every practice, every game. If you're playing in Europe, you might get a couple scouts a few times during the season, but a lot of times not the decision makers. And here the decision makers are going to these events and these games. So, all those things I think is, I just believe that your chances are to get here and get to the NBA are a little bit better.
Mm. And at what age do you think is it best to come to the States for international basketball player? Because your clients came at college age, but like some say that it's better to go to high school. Again, high school is for 1 year, 2 years, or from 9th grade. What do you suggest?
Well, it's up to the families. I think it's a very tough decision to send your child across the world, especially at a younger age. But families who can do it, I obviously think that the more time, the better. I think the high school systems, AAU basketball here, it's a good way to get on the map. And the biggest reason is there's going to be a difficulty when you first arrive. It's just natural, it's a cultural barrier, language barriers, food, being around American boys and girls, it's an adjustment, and anybody who comes here knows that. And I think the younger you do it, the more, adapted you become. So, I would say I'm a big supporter of high school, getting here at high school and having that experience also. But, a lot of these guys, the guys you named, they've had a lot of success, but it hasn't been easy. And those guys, are cases where it has really worked. And there's been plenty of cases where guys get, and ladies get to, school and college, and the adjustment is too much. And, there's homesickness, and there's, all sorts of difficulties you have to go through, and it may not work out. So.
And Mike, why do you think there are so many talented basketball players in America? Because high school system, college system produce a lot of talented players every year, and from Europe we get maybe 5, 7, 10 players who can play on serious level, and in the States it's like hundreds of players. Is it really the methodics of trainings something different in America, or it's because it's so competitive and so many players play basketball, just because of the high competition we get so many good players?
Yeah, I think it's there's not one clear reason for it probably, but it's just culturally, it's more diverse here, as far as basketball. Basketball is very popular. It's played everywhere. Every state has hundreds of teams, and kids, are playing it, growing up, and that just creates for a more diverse environment in the basketball world, I guess. And of course, I think mentality is a big part of it. If you're talking about guys that go to the NBA, confidence is a big issue, is a big factor, I think. Players here, especially those that go on to the top level, they come from, majority of the time they have a more confident approach to themselves, and confidence is a big part of success at the top level of any sport. So there's here are kind of a lot of times they're alphas, especially the ones that go on to the big programs and play high level, and I think that's just a difference in mentality. But yeah, development and just more access to the game, more games, more leagues. Here you have high school, you have rec league, you have church leagues, you have AAU, you have all these places where kids can just play more and more basketball. It's part of the culture a lot more than most places in Europe, aside from maybe your Lithuanias and Serbias, places like that.
Спасибо, что досмотрели это видео до конца. Если по этой теме у вас остались вопросы, то пишите их в комментариях. Оставляйте заявку на нашем сайте, если вам интересно поступление в американские и европейские команды и учебные заведения. Подписывайтесь на наш канал, и увидимся с вами в следующих выпусках.